Hello, so today's video is slightly different to our normal vlogs. I'm going to be sitting down and giving you some tips and tricks that we learnt whilst we were travelling in Southeast Asia. So hopefully you find this enjoyable, and let's get started. So to start with, I'm going to give you some general tips for Southeast Asia as a whole, and then I'm going to do some individual tips for the individual countries that we went to. And I'll put the times for all the different countries just here and also in the description box below. So to start with the weather, we went in the rainy season and it was pretty rainy, although we were kind of used to it because we're from Britain, but because it's so hot there it gets super humid, so just be ready to be sweaty. When we had ice in restaurants and drinking water, when it said it was drinking water, we were fine. We never just drank water from a tap or anything like that though. So we used a few different apps to help us book things whilst we were out there. So I booked all the accommodation and I used Agoda, and it was really, really good. I really recommend it. You get some money back every time you book, I think. So that was good. That helped us save a bit extra money, and it's one of the cheapest places to go for hostels. So recommend that. So for flights, I recommend a website called Momondo and also Skyscanner. They're both very good for cheap flights. For food, because me and Lizzie are vegan and vegetarian, we used an app called Happy Cow. I think it's quite well known, but even when you're in rural areas out there, it still worked and there were still places that you could go to. And then finally for buses, which Lizzie booked, she used a website called One2Go Asia. So to break up the exciting busy days, we would recommend having a few days where you don't do very much, kind of just sit around and sit by the pool and just enjoy where you are, because if you're constantly go, 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 it can be super exhausting and you're just tired and not really enjoying what you're doing. And also along those lines, it's good to kind of break up your super cheap dormitories and hostels and everything like that and just stay in a slightly nicer place, maybe a private room, because it can just be a bit intense in dormitories sometimes and it's just nice to treat yourself. When possible, we would definitely recommend aircon. We had aircon pretty much everywhere. I would always choose the aircon option rather than fan, and it really helps you sleep, because when it's really hot and stuffy and just not nice, neither of us slept very well at all, because it's really uncomfortable and you're hot and that's all you can think about. So I would recommend spending a bit extra and getting aircon. So for spending money, it totally depends on how much you like to spend. We're quite tight and we probably spent about £10 per day, maybe slightly less. But that is not including some of the bigger, more expensive things we did, like a Halong Bay cruise, cooking classes, playing with the elephants, diving, everything like that is quite expensive. That was kind of an additional cost, but getting food, doing fairly cheap stuff, whatnot, that would probably be about, for us, probably £8 to £10. Always have tissues and hand sanitizer on you, because they come in so useful, and it just means that you can go to the toilet and eat straight afterwards, because often they don't have hand soap. So in nearly all the countries we noticed that the temperature was a lot cooler in the morning, and from about 1-2ish onwards it's super hot and it doesn't cool down until like 5ish. So during the afternoon period, if you're going to be out trekking, doing stuff, I would make that in the morning if you can, because it's a lot more pleasant. Individual tips, we're going to start with Malaysia. So for Malaysia, the plugs that they use are the same as we use here in England. It's the 3-pinned plug, so if you're just going to Malaysia, perfect, you don't need to get any travel adapters. So the currency they use in Malaysia is ringgit, and Lizzie's going to put the exchange rates for a few different currencies to the ringgit right here. For travel in Malaysia, they do have Grab, so unless you're in Kuala Lumpur or a really busy city like that, we use Grab all the time. It's dead cheap. So Malaysia is a Muslim country, so you will get looked at a bit weirdly if you are constantly in like strappy tops or even short sleeve. Well, short sleeve top should be okay, but the more that you're covered up the better. Don't wear short shorts and all that. We did notice a difference between Borneo and the Peninsula Malaysia. So in the Peninsula Malaysia they seemed a lot more religious, whereas in Borneo it was more secular. So we didn't get as many stares for wearing shorts, so it depends where you're going. So if you're going to places like Taman Negara, or just any big national park, or you're going to Parentian Islands, you will need mosquito repellent because there were lots of mosquitoes and just bugs in general there, as you would expect. The big cities, we didn't notice any mosquitoes, or there wasn't many, so you don't need to worry about it so much if you're just going to big cities. So because it's a Muslim country, a lot of people will pray 5 times a day, and you do hear the call to pray, I think it's called. So you can hear them praying, but it's not too in your face or anything like that. It's just something to be aware of if you are hearing that. That's what's going on. So they speak very good English, so if you need any help or anything like that, don't be scared to ask a local for help, because they're very friendly, they're very happy to have tourists there on the whole, and they speak really good English on the whole, so you should be okay. So if you're going to Peninsular Malaysia, or like the mainland Malaysia, everything is quite spread out and far apart because it is quite big. So we would recommend just choosing a few things that you want to do and spend some time, allow time in Malaysia. We did, and it definitely helped make the trip more enjoyable. If we only spent like a day or two in each place, it would have just been constant travel, which wouldn't have been fun. Okay, Langkawi was a pretty cool place, so if you didn't know about it, then I'd recommend looking into it and maybe going there. They have loads of water sport stuff there, and it was super cheap as well. We went paragliding, and I can't remember how much it was. I think it was like £12 each for like 10 minutes or something, so it was pretty cool. The only thing is that they don't have any public transport there, so you need to have the Grab app downloaded on your phone, otherwise you're just going to get expensive taxis all the time, which isn't fun. If you're a girl, you will probably find in Malaysia, all of Malaysia, that people want to constantly take photos with you, mainly just because you're white and female. It's a little bit weird and unusual, but it's kind of cool. You feel like a celebrity. The only thing is that we did notice you get catcalled all the time. I don't even know if it's catcalling, it's just people constantly as you're walking down the streets being like, hi, hello, have a good day, are you having a good day, how are you today, like constantly. It's okay, I don't mind it, but it does get a bit relentless after a while. So in Malaysia, the Wi-Fi was really good, really fast, and in nearly everywhere we went, we found Wi-Fi. The only places that were bad were the Parentian Islands, it was really bad there, and Taman Negara because we're in the middle of the jungle. The other place is Miri. We stayed in a hotel that said it was going to have Wi-Fi, and then when we went, they didn't have any Wi-Fi at all. So I don't know if that was just like being unlucky or whatever, but that was, on the whole, the Wi-Fi was good there. Okay, so we're going to do the tips for Vietnam now. The biggest tip I can give you for Vietnam is that it's a massive country. It's bigger than you think. I don't know why. It looks the same size as the other countries, but then when you're there, it's blooming massive. So only pick a few places to go there, or if you want to visit more, spend more time there. We only spent 2 weeks because that's all you get if you're British and you don't want to have a visa. And that's fine. I think it was enough time. I just wish we didn't go to quite so many places. So either pick more time or less places, because otherwise you will be doing a lot of sleeper buses and just constantly on a bus, and there's just no point. Along those lines, sleeper buses are not good fun. Only get them if you really, really need to, because you will probably not sleep on them at all, or like half an hour or something, and then you get to the place that you're going to and you're absolutely dead, and all you can think about is going to sleep. So just don't use them unless you really, really need to. So another really big tip that I would give for Vietnam is to potentially learn some basic phrases in Vietnamese, because when we were there, I don't know if we were unlucky or people just didn't like us, but we would speak in English to them and they would either not understand what we were saying or they just didn't care. I don't know. I would often say things to them and they would kind of just walk off and not even bother dignifying me with a response. So I don't know if it's just their mannerisms and how they are, but it might be useful to learn some Vietnamese. I kind of wish that we did. It could have helped us quite a bit. So in Vietnam, the roads are crazy. They are the craziest in the whole of Southeast Asia, particularly if you're going to Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. Definitely Ho Chi Minh is crazy. They honk their horns all the time. It's so noisy and annoying. And also, if you are a pedestrian and you are trying to cross the road, take a deep breath and just do it and be as confident as you can. Don't wait for the green man, because even when it says that you can cross, drivers are still driving all over the place, so just go for it, otherwise you'll be there all day. They did have Grab, but in Dalat they only had Grab Bike, which is when you're on a motorbike. So if you are going to be travelling on your own, Grab Bike might be a really good option for you. It's safe, we didn't fall off our bike or anything like that. But obviously you can only get one person on the back of each bike. Okay, the plug for Vietnam is, we believe, the 2 flat pins plug. So, yeah, have fun with that.
You know it?
Do you know it? Do you have it? So like Malaysia, there was Wi-Fi pretty much everywhere. And to be fair, even though we said the sleeper buses were pretty grim, most of them did have Wi-Fi that worked pretty well. So there's Wi-Fi at least.
They have one thing going for them.
Yeah. Okay, if you are veggie or vegan, I would recommend getting a screenshot on your phone of you typing in to Google Translate vegetarian or no meat. I did this on like the last day, so I never actually got to use it, but they didn't really tend to understand what you were saying when you said veggie or vegan. Definitely not vegan. And we did actually get served dishes with meat a few times, which we had to send back. So maybe learn what it is in Vietnamese, but we weren't brave enough to do that. So the currency they use in Vietnam is the dong, and it is very different to if you're from Britain or the US or whatever. It's so different, as Lizzie will put in the exchange rates right here. So to the pound, it's about 30,000 dong to £1, which is just kind of mental to get your head around, but once you've been there for a few days, you get used to it. Regarding dress code, you can dress just like in shorts and a strappy top or whatever, and there's no issues, no one will stare at you. Obviously, if you are planning to go to a temple, then you need to dress appropriately and have your shoulders covered and your knees covered. So we weren't too sure if there was a risk of malaria in Vietnam. We kind of got told conflicting advice. In the end, we didn't take malaria tablets because we didn't really see many mosquitoes at all, and we were fine. We weren't bitten at all, or if we were, we didn't get malaria. So it's your personal choice what you do, but I don't think there's a big risk of malaria there. Okay, let's do Lao! Woo! So for the plug, it's a 2 flat pin one. You know it?
Another one.
Little put picture right here. The people in Laos are really friendly and nice. The roads in Laos are very bumpy and underdeveloped. Even like the main roads are super bumpy, so just be prepared for uncomfortable bus rides.
Free massage.
The locals weren't so great at English there. They were okay and you can get by. It's kind of hard for us to tell because we went on a guided tour with somebody that was from Laos and obviously spoke Lao, which makes things easier. But if you don't have that, I think you would just about survive. There were quite a lot of mosquitoes and creepy crawlies, so I would recommend bringing your mosquito repellent with you because you don't want to get bitten. And also there is a risk of malaria in the south of Laos, so if you were going to the south of Laos, then take your malaria tablets because we did get bitten a few times. So the currency in Laos is the Lao Kip, and it's a bit different to all the other countries because you aren't allowed to bring any Lao Kip into the country, so you can't get it anywhere else. So as soon as you get into Laos, get yourself some cash and then try and use it all up or change it back into a different currency before you leave Laos because it's pretty useless everywhere else and you can't use it, so get it changed. Okay, Cambodia time! Yay! Hello if you've just joined. Hi! We really liked Cambodia. It's quite a chilled place, particularly in some of the smaller towns like Kampot. But we quite enjoyed that because for us, Laos, which was just before Cambodia, was quite intense. So if you're looking to just chill, go to Cambodia if you're looking to do 1,000,001 activities. Maybe not. There wasn't that much to do, even in the capital cities. In Phnom Penh, we did it all in a day without any trouble. And if you want to check out that video, it'll be right here! So there were quite a few mosquitoes in Cambodia, particularly in the smaller towns. If you are just going to Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, you should be okay. But everywhere else, bring your bug spray, and there is a risk of malaria in Cambodia again, so take your malaria tablets just in case. So their English is pretty darn good in Cambodia, and you can definitely get by if you speak English. So the currency in Cambodia is a little bit weird and different to everywhere else. So they use US dollars a lot, but then if anything is less than $1, so let's say it's $1.25, that would be $1 and 1,000 real. So 1,000 real is 25 cents. It's very confusing, particularly when something's like $1.99 dollars. They put prices in dollars as well. It's so confusing. So pretty much the real, the Cambodian real, is like the change almost. And you can spend it, but you just have to work it out in your head. So if something's 75 cents, then you're going to have to get 3,000 real out and pay for it like that. It's very confusing, and they don't use any coins, so I guess that's a good thing. But instead of coins, you get real. Another note about the currency is that you have to make sure that nothing is ripped. With the real, it's a little bit more go with the flow, but with the dollars, they are crazy about it. Like, if it's slightly damaged in any way, they won't accept it. So particularly if you are getting a note from somebody and it's a big note, like more than $5, I guess, like 20 or 50 or something like that, you are going to want to make sure that that is not ripped, because otherwise they won't accept it there. We did have an issue with one of the buses when we were going from Laos, from the Laos border. No, wait, no, it was from Dondet. When we went from Dondet, which is in Laos, to Phnom Penh in Cambodia, when we crossed the border, they took us about an hour away, and we got to Stung Treng, and then they told us that we'd only got there in time for the last bus of the day, and that one had broken down. So then we were stuck in this tiny town. There's literally like 3 streets there, and that was it. So that was a big issue with that bus. So they can be a little bit unreliable, but it's kind of the only way to get around, unless you only want to go to the 2 main the 2 main cities. The only places that they had Grab was Siem Reap and Phnom Penh. So if you want to get around in the other towns, then you've got to get a tuk-tuk. Let's do Thailand! Last one, yay! So let's start with the plugs, because where else would we start? They use the 2 flat pin plug. I hope you all know what this is by now. And also the British 3-pin plug. So basically you need a travel adapter no matter where you're from if you're going to Thailand, because who knows what they will offer you. Their English in Thailand is very, very good, and also the people are really friendly, so they do seem to make an effort to understand what you're saying, or even if they don't know what you're saying, they'll probably just smile and laugh anyway. We didn't notice there was many mosquitoes in Thailand, particularly if you are in the big cities like Chiang Mai and Bangkok. The currency that they use in Thailand is the Thai baht, and we'll put the exchange rate right here. So to get around, it kind of depends where you are going. I think if you're going from Chiang Mai to Bangkok, you should probably fly, huh? That seems like quite a distance. Yeah. Some people got a sleeper train. We didn't, so that might be okay. But if you were going to the Thai Islands, then you are going to need a ferry or 2, and we did not have any issues with our ferry company, and I can't remember the name of them right now, but Lizzie's going to put them right here. They were fine. So in Thailand they do also have Grab, so it's nice and easy and cheap to get around, and if you're in Bangkok they have trams and whatnot, sky trains, I can't remember what they're called, but you can get around nice and easily there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this tips and tricks video. Hopefully we gave you some good tips and some things that you will use if you are also going to be going to Southeast Asia. That's pretty much it for today's video, and we will see you all in next week's videos, not tomorrow, but next Wednesday. So we'll see you then. Bye guys!